Method, real talk for real people. And this is your announcer, always me, Dee Marie, coming straight at you from Perkins School of Theology on the campus of Southern Methodist University. And if you're excited like I am to be here, let me hear you make some noise. This episode of The Method is presented by the Mexican American Hispanic Latino Church Ministry Program of Perkins School of Theology and is sponsored by Better Community Development Incorporated, The Business Experts, Denman Hamilton and Associates CPAs, Miss Lady Magazine, and St. Andrew United Methodist Church, Little Rock. It's time for the talking to begin, y'all. You're listening to The Method, real talk for real people on KABF 88.3, the voice of the people. What's up, Arkansas? This is always me, Dee Marie, and I just want to welcome everybody to our show. We have an awesome show today, and I want to introduce some really awesome, compassionate, and driven people to our listening audience in Arkansas. But before I do that, I must let everybody know that The Method, Real Talk for Real People is one of the many mission and outreach programs of the Arkansas Conference of the United Methodist Church. The Method has a United Methodist connection through Better Community Development Incorporated, St. Andrew United Methodist Church, and professors, staff, and students that volunteer their valuable time at Perkins School of Theology on the campus of Southern Methodist University. So please, please, please go to the Arkansas Conference website and check out the life-changing ministry that's going on at www.arumc.org. We just want to acknowledge our support and say thank you for being down with The Method. So I have a very, very special person to introduce to our listening audience in Arkansas. It is Reverend Dr. Paul Barton. How are you, Dr. Barton?
I'm doing great, Dina. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Let me give our listening audience some background information on Dr. Barton. Dr. Barton is the director of American, Mexican, and Hispanic Latino Church Ministries and is the director of the United Methodist Regional Course of Study, and he is an associate professor of Christian history and missionology. His impressive resume also includes a PhD from Southern Methodist University in religious studies. He's, of course, a Perkins alum with a Master's of Divinity degree, and he got his bachelor's degree in sociology with a minor in music from Southwestern University. He's an ordained elder in the Rio Grande Conference of the United Methodist Church, vice president of the Association of Hispanic Theological Education, and his teaching interests include Christian heritage, Hispanic Protestantism, missionology, and the Methodist and Wesleyan tradition. So please, please, please give it up for the Reverend Dr. Paul Barton.
Thank you, Dina. Listening to you, I didn't know I was that impressive.
You are impressive. I'm trying to be like you one day. So, Dr. Barton, please let our listening audience know about the MAP program that's available here at Perkins, if you don't mind.
I'd love to. MAP, which is short, it's an acronym for Mexican American Program. That is the name that this program started with when it was founded in 1974 by my father, Roy D. Barton. Recently, it's changed. They've expanded it to be more inclusive of all Latino groups. So it's now called the Mexican American and Hispanic Latino Church Ministry Program. But we'll refer to it as MAP here for short. It has a number of objectives. One of those objectives is to be a resource to the church for pastors and churches and conferences and other organizations that are interested in getting involved in Hispanic ministry. It's also a resource for Spanish-speaking members of the church, and it's a resource for students who come to Perkins School of Theology. So our constituents are basically English-speaking persons who want to be involved in Hispanic ministry, and then the Latino church itself, and then also students who are here at Perkins.
Okay, so if I'm like a new seminarian, fresh out of seminary, and the cabinet says, we're finna put you over here, Dina, and I'm in a primarily Hispanic community. I don't speak the language, but I'm charged to still minister to their needs. I can't wall off my members. I have to help them be engaged in the community. So would this be a good resource for me to be engaged?
This would be the perfect resource for you to be engaged, to learn about and be prepared for ministry in Hispanic settings. A student does not need to know Spanish to be involved in Hispanic ministry. I would say that especially among young people, the vast majority, 80% at least, of young people, Hispanic, Latinos, they know English. So there's a very large segment of the Latino population that knows English, so you could still be able to work with the English-speaking Hispanic Latino population. The gospel calls us to face challenges with courage and with faith in Jesus Christ. And while language can be a barrier, it can also be a bridge. And it can be a bridge to help us connect with people from different ethnic communities.
Oh, and you know what? And that was a perfect segue on giving our listening audience a quick history about the method, because you were talking about bridging the gap. The method Real Talk for Real People is based on the 22 questions of personal reflection by the founders of the Methodist movement in America and Great Britain, John and Charles Wesley, when they started their Holy Club when they were students at Oxford. And each show topic is based on something pertaining to these questions. So today's question is Holy Club question number 15. Am I defeated in any part of my life? And thank you, Dr. Barton, for helping us present the method to bridging the gap.
Thank you, Dina. Here at MAP at Perkins, I don't work by myself. I work with a number of wonderful student and pastoral colleagues and friends. Hispanic Latino ministry is not done by an individual or individuals. It's done in community. And so we have members of the Methodist community here around this table, and I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves to your audience. And first off, we have Reverend Dr. Owen Ross.
Greetings to everyone there in Arkansas. My name is Owen Ross. I am the pastor of Christ Foundry United Methodist Mission, also known in our community as La Fundición de Cristo Misión Metodista Unida. It is a 14-year-old church start, and started off in all Spanish, but as has been mentioned already in the show, the next generation is speaking more and more English. And so 2 years ago, Christ Foundry moved from one of our celebrations from being a Spanish language service to being a bilingual celebration. And we have found that the bilingual celebration has been the celebration that has been drawing more and more people as multilingual families are being developed here in the Dallas area, and that is who we are being able to connect with through the missions and ministries of Christ Foundry United Methodist Mission.
Hello, Arkansas. This is David Rangel, pastor of Casa Linda United Methodist Church that was built in 1951, Anglo middle-class membership. But about 10 years ago, the church needed to transition into a new congregation, and so they opened the doors for Hispanic ministry. So in the last 7 years, I would say, I've been working really hard to make this transition a success. We have two services, one in English, completely traditional. The second service, which is in Spanish, and we provide English translation, and it's completely contemporary. And so we have learned to work together in the midst of diversity in order to keep the doors open of our ministry.
Hi, my name is Martha Valencia. Greetings.
What's up, girl power Latina?
Greetings, Arkansas. I am the pastor of Agape Memorial United Methodist Church near downtown Dallas. Congregation is a Hispanic congregation, very multi-generational, from immigrant families to fifth-generation Hispanic families. What's going on in our neighborhood is that the neighborhood around us is changing very much. In the past, maybe 15, 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, it was a predominantly Hispanic neighborhood with with immigrant families as well. And now the city has come in and done some revitalization. So we have Anglo families moving in and singles and all sorts of different ethnicities as well. We have Asian. And so now our community is changing around us, but the church is still Hispanic, immigrant to fifth generation. So we've done a lot of different things in the last year and a half to try to connect with the community and bridge that gap and just find a new form of discipleship and a way of connecting with the community. So some of that has involved building a community garden and providing other programming and resources that people can connect with in our community.
Hello, Dina.
Hello, Miguel.
Me and Dina, we share classes. So a little bit of my background. I was born and raised in Mexico and just immigrated here in 2001. I started working with the youth. I'm not saying it's my talent, but I've been the bridge for the youth generation in order to how to speak to the adult and also helping the adult to translate how to speak to the youth. And I always see myself as a bridge between youth and adult. I always like to help the youth to discover their gifts and talents so how they can serve the church. And now, since I'm about to finish seminary and seeking to be ordained, I hope to be a bridge between Hispanic Latino community and the rest of the community so we can also bring our gifts and talents, that are the many, and we can learn to cooperate together as a community.
When y'all were introducing yourself, so many different questions popped into my mind. And when I took evangelism under Doctors Priscilla Pope Levinson and Jack Levinson, they had us reading the writings of an evangelism theologian called Leslie Newbegin. He basically, says that the people that you're reaching out to need to be a part of the planning process. And I'm just kind of curious on how do y'all implement that in each one of your local contexts?
I think reaching out in a new cultural setting, whether that's just into a new neighborhood which has its microculture, or whether it's into a immigrant neighborhood which usually also has a mix of cultures within it. Even though people may be from the same nation, they come from different areas that have different cultures, just as our nation has different cultures in different areas of there. And I think developing cultural competencies in doing evangelism is a core skill. And there's no better teacher of that than someone from those areas to assist in that. Now, when seeking to evangelize in a new community, finding those people on the ground from within the community that are eager to assist an evangelist in that area can be challenging, but it is something that is essential. When I was beginning to plant Christ Foundry, one of the key questions I would say when engaging people is saying, I'm new here, I'm seeking to plant a church in this community, and I'm trying to learn about this community. Can you tell me about it? And that key question kind of opened it up to have conversation to where I could share more about what I was being called to. I think the most powerful question that a pastor seeking to evangelize someone is say, will you help me? And I think asking for that help opens them. It also takes away that kind of paternalistic approach to doing evangelism and can really seek to get to know the people in order to share the good news of Jesus Christ with them.
I've been to Christ Foundry, and I really enjoyed my experience there. Your youth director, Morgan, invited me to a bilingual praise and worship service. I really, really enjoyed it. Are y'all still doing those?
We do those every Sunday morning at 11:30. If you
Every
find yourself
Sunday
in Dallas, we invite you to come and be with us
Amen,
at Christ Foundry.
amen.
You can find us at christfoundry.org.
What are some aspects of the blended service that are very successful and helpful? My church, we try to do that. We do scripture in English and in Spanish, and when Spanish people know the songs, they sing it in their language, but we're singing in English. But is there anything else we can do to enhance the spiritual experience cross-culturally?
From my experience, since I've been at Agape, we do have a traditional service in English and a service in Spanish. But for me, coming in, what was really important was to build relationships between both congregants in each service. Because when I arrived at Agape, it was very much a setting of being called one congregation, but actually really operating as two separate congregations. And so we were having bilingual services, but people weren't connected. And I think a huge part to having people connect was to have them connect with one another and get to know one another and build relationships. And we really worked on that during the first year. And as people walked alongside each other, came to know each other on a deeper level, built trust, built relationships, it enhanced our worship experience.
Dina, I think it's important to know that there is no one right way to handle language in worship. Every community needs to work on that issue for themselves and make that decision as a community. Each church has its own needs, and the pastor needs to work with that church to help the members decide what kind of worship works best for them.
That's so interesting. Now that you said that, so, I mean, every time y'all talk, more and more questions pop up. How, as a pastor, and if I see my church needs to meet that need for that particular demographic, what are some ways I can encourage my lay leaders to get properly trained? Because I just think that when you are reaching out to a population of people that you are not familiar with, I just feel like you need to be trained. Does it matter if you're trained or not, or do you just step out on faith?
This is Miguel. I think one of the things that it have been mentioned is about communication, point one. And point two, sometimes church tend to doctors or maybe teachers to come and teach you, but sometimes the experts or the expertise are on the community. You might find out that there's more than one or two leaders that they want to help.
What Miguel is talking about in professional language is called organic leaders, organic
Gotcha.
leadership. Those are persons who, as you mentioned, Miguel, are in the community and they have natural giftedness of being leaders. Well, they may not be trained leaders, they may not have degrees or specializations, but they've been gifted by God to be able to lead others in certain types of projects and missions. And so it's key to find out who are those gifted organic leaders and to work with them and to nurture them and to empower them, because those organic leaders are going to be the connection to the community.
All right, we need to take a break and pause for the cause. You're listening to The Method, real talk for real people.
Like The Method? Then follow us all the time. Like The Method on Facebook. Hit us up on Instagram or follow us on Twitter at TheMethod3. It's easy. By doing this, you are empowered to ask our empowerment guests questions, give us immediate feedback on the show, gain access to empowerment information, see listings of music used for the show, and post pictures or shout-outs. We look forward to your posts and tweets. Thanks for supporting The Method, real talk for real people.
This 30-second empowerment moment is brought to you by the tax experts, Denman, Hamilton & Associates. When it comes to making good financial decisions, it's good to get started on financial empowerment as soon as possible. Start with a budget and stick to it. Try living below your means. Buying things on sale could save you a lot of money. And most importantly, invest your money. Let your money work for you. Make an appointment today with the tax experts. This is KV Knox for the tax experts, Denman, Hamilton & Associates. And we're so glad that Better Community Development is rebuilding communities and restoring lives. Don't forget to like Denman, Hamilton & Associates on Facebook and follow them on Twitter for more tips on financial empowerment.
Perkins School of Theology at Southern Methodist University has provided resources and educational services for the Hispanic and Latino ministries since the 1950s. The Mexican American and Hispanic Latino Church Ministry program exists to prepare church leaders to be effective in Hispanic and Latino communities. You don't have to be Methodist to reap the benefits of our department. All you have to have is a willing heart to help God's people. If this is something that speaks to your interest, we'd be more than willing to help. You can visit our website at Perkins School of Theology at SMU, and you can email us at MAP, that's M-A-P, at smu.edu, or call us at area code 214-768-2265. It would be a joy to hear from you. This is Paul Barton, Director of MAP at Perkins School of Theology, and you're listening to The Method, real talk for real people.
We're back, and we're having a meaningful conversation about reaching out to others and not being so focused on ourselves, and to bridge the gap and build community among different cultures. So how can we really bridge the gap in the community to develop discipleships? I know that in y'all's present context, y'all kind of tweaked it and made a way to do those things. I mean, is there any way that you can encourage us take it one step at a time or something, or just
Yes.
kind of
Yes.
give us some breadcrumbs? I know that each context is different, but there are some similarities.
This is Owen Ross. And the one recommendation I would give to churches seeking to do a new mission or outreach to the Hispanic population is do not start with social services alone. I feel social services alone sets up a dynamic that is not helpful once you're wanting to really seek to do true inclusion of the community into the faith community that is reaching out to that community. I would either start first with Bible study or at the same time seek a way to include spiritual services within the social services that you're extending. I had a good friend that was doing his church at ESL. He started once a week just reading an abbreviated Spanish liturgy for communion, and he had over a third of the ESL class coming to his communion. And so when it would be a natural transition to start doing spiritual services in a church, and the social services won't be seen as much as a bait and switch scheme.
So this is David. I agree with Owen. The church was known in the community because of the social work. In the community, when we were known as the community center / church. People went to receive help, and there was not a connection beyond that. And so before you try to connect with the Hispanic Latino community and bring them into the church, into the life of the church, one of the first things that we need to consider is what's the purpose of it? What's the purpose of these people coming into the life of the church? There you will determine exactly the method or the way to bring them into the church. What you don't want is to bring 40 kids, 10 families that do not speak the same language than you, and you don't have anything else to offer to them, or you don't have a process where you can take them from A to B and from B to C. So first of all, we have to lay out exactly what's the purpose of bringing this new community into the life of the church. Then you start developing the ways through which you can reach out to them. There are a few ways. One of them is use the existing communities, the existing organizations that are in the community and that are looking for a place where they can host immigration clinics or programs for the community. You don't have to waste any money. You don't have to use your own people. All you gotta do is to offer a room. And then when these people come and offer these workshops or classes, all you gotta do is to be present in those classes and make those connections. Now, if you have already community program in your church, somehow the people need to know that besides receiving this help, they need to know in advance that maybe you will stop by to offer a word of prayer or Bible study or invite them to some sort of activities of the church. So they know exactly that when they come to these events or opportunities, they will know that they will hear about the church and you will make a connection. And the other is the church needs to go out where the people are and make those connections. So, being part of a PTA group at a elementary school or going to a soccer field where you see that you will see a lot of Hispanics playing soccer and make those connections. So, there are ways through which you can bring those people into the church. And because you have already a plan with them, you will know what to do with them.
Anybody else want to speak to that?
I think this is important as Pastor Rose and David Rangel, Pastor David, sorry. He's my classmate. Sometimes I try to address as a friend. Anyway, it is to get to know your community. Every community is going to be different, and there is already a system that are already helping people, and they know the people. One thing sometimes we overlook is the schools, elementary, middle school, high schools. They don't need volunteers, especially in the Hispanic community, because parents most of the time both have to work. They don't have time to be with them. The church can be a good resource for the community on regards of tutoring, maybe a sponsorship, maybe a big brother, big sister, I don't know. So you get to know the community, and the community get to know you. Once you enter in communication with them, then you can start planning events together.
Okay, well, then I have another... you can go ahead. Yes, ma'am, I always forget.
Well, I want to jump in with my brothers here.
Yes.
In just affirming what they've said, and then also adding something to that. So, of course, you want to ask yourself the question, what's the purpose of bringing these persons in? And and going beyond extending just social service and of course building relationship. But I think one of the key things also is to be aware of our language. And so I'm often reminded that it's ministry with, not ministry to said demographic or said persons. And so just being aware of that, I think many times we are culturally aware of differences in beliefs and differences in cultures, but we're not culturally competent. We don't know how to engage people on those differences and those beliefs and those traditions and values. And so I think just being aware of our language and being brave enough to connect with people and come alongside them and hear their story and share stories and meet them where they are is very important to continue to move forward and get from point A to point B to point C, as my brothers have pointed out.
I got one question. So now that we have said everything that we just said, me as a pastor, do I put it out there to my congregants, look, this is something that needs to be done. You can't ignore it. Or do you let the Spirit lead them to come to Jesus and do what's right? Everybody looking like, I don't know, that's a loaded question.
It is. For me, because I'm happen to be holding the microphone, I'll go first, but it's a combination. I mean, obviously the Spirit lifts up the need and God orchestrates things that only God can orchestrate, but I think oftentimes we are called to be a prophetic voice in our community and lift up the needs and concerns and lift up what it is that we are not doing to the best of our ability as a congregation and as a people in engaging our community. So my answer to that question would be I think it's a bit of both.
Well, Miguel, again, I think as Pastor said, it is a little bit of them. And the challenge probably I will bring to my church, if they're not doing Hispanic ministry yet, I will invite them to dream what it will be how the kingdom of God will look like where we can speak more than one language. And probably to open our eyes and see how many, because our church member there might have friends that speak Spanish, really close friends. So what will be those friends will be in their church, and how will be the church, and how can be together, and down in the community and with our friends. So I think it will be, as Pastor said, a little bit about challenge and invite them. So
we've come to the end of our show, and I'm going to ask my special guest, Dr. Barton, to kind of wrap things up for us, and then I'm going to take us on home.
All right, Dina, thank you very much for inviting us to be part of your program. It's been a pleasure, and I want to thank all of my colleagues and friends who have been a part of this program. The Reverend Owen Ross from Fundación de Cristo, Christ Foundry, Reverend David Rangel, pastor of Casa Linda United Methodist Church and a student here at Perkins.
Yay.
Reverend Martha Valencia, pastor of Agape Memorial United Methodist Church and a graduate of Perkins. And also Miguel Padilla, who is a third-year student here at Perkins and has been very involved in ministry before he arrived here. We've talked about a number of things regarding Hispanic ministry. If anyone in your audience wants to learn more about it, they can feel free to contact me at 214-768-2265 or send us an email at MAP, which is MAP, at smu.edu. We'd be happy to talk with them and be a resource for your audience.
Amen. You've been listening to The Method, Real Talk for Real People on 88.3 KABF, the voice of the people, and the people have spoken. This episode of The Method was presented by the Mexican American Hispanic Latina Church Ministry Program of Perkins School of Theology and is sponsored by Better Community Development Incorporated, restoring lives, rebuilding communities. The Business Experts, Denman, Hamilton, and Associates CPAs. Make an appointment with the Business Experts today. Ms. Lady Magazine, where we are, where you are. And St. Andrew United Methodist Church, Little Rock, where we are people helping people. Executive producer, Kristen Veazey Knox. Produced by Deborah Bell, A. Marie Jones, Chester Jones, C.E. McAdoo, and William Robinson Jr. Technical directors, T.J. Macklin and Doug Pierce. Technical support provided by Perkins School of Theology. This episode of The Method was hosted by Paul Barton and is written and created by Dina Marie Hamilton. If you want to make a difference in your community, you can do it by following the G Code. Do no harm, do as much good as you can, and be a good person and be a good neighbor. That's the United Methodist way, and guess what? It can be yours too. This is your announcer, always me, Dee Marie, thanking you for your support and being down with the Method. Be blessed and be empowered. The Method, Real Talk for Real People, is an Opportunity Knox production.